Do you know the difference between a planet and a continent? Well, it is time to have fun and also learn something new on this episode of the Street Quiz. My name is Novi. What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
A continent is a large mass of land on the earth, whilst the planet is it's a body in space of that sort. Like it, normally continents will be found on the planets, whilst the planet is on its own. Yes, orbit and planets orbit the sun.
What's the difference between a continent and a planet?
A planet is made up of different worlds,
How fast do we hear of this?
and a continent it's made up of different country making one nation.
What is the difference between a continent and a planet?
A continent is made up of countries, and a planet is a heavenly body that moves around the sun. An example is the Earth.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
A continent is made up of two or more countries. It's made up of countries. And a planet is like a whole, like a Mars body.
What's the difference between a continent and a planet?
A planet is like a world coming together
Funke!
to make a
Try again. What's the difference between a continent and a planet?
planet. It's like a world coming together to make a planet.
What's the difference between a planet and a continent?
A planet. A planet. A planet are the eighth. This one. They are eighth. But continent. I don't know how to explain.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
A planet is oh, go on. A planet is let me see a mass that's actually revolves around the sun, and then a continent is a piece of land on the earth that is separated by, I don't know, but that can also be like for an island or something, but it's a very large one that there are countries on it. Yeah.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
A planet is a whole body on its own. A continent is a part of a planet that can support life.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
Okay, to me, a planet can be found in space, and probably, let's take the planet Earth. It suits both living organisms such as animals and plants. So, to me, a planet is where an organism can conditions are available for him to live. Whilst a continent is a geographical area where countries are and people live within those countries, and it can be found on planet Earth.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
Okay, a continent comprises of countries, and then a planet comprises of the continent and the countries.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent? Who will go first?
A planet is a heavenly body and a continent is in a planet.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
A planet is an object in space that orbits the sun, and a continent is a specific geographical area in the earth or part of the earth.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
Continents, a planet and a continent. Continents come together to make Earth, in which Earth is a planet.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
A planet and a continent. Basically, a planet harbors the continent, and then the continent harbors the countries.
What is the difference between a planet and a continent?
A planet is a heavenly body, and a planet. A continent is like a group of countries that have something similar, and a planet. I know Earth is the only planet where human beings are.